Hello, friend. It's late now, or maybe it's not quite as late as it feels, but you're winding down, and that's really the only thing that matters at this hour. Wherever you're listening from, bed, couch, somewhere warm and quiet, you don't need to do anything for the next hour except let your eyes close whenever they want to. There's nothing to follow closely tonight, nothing to remember, nothing to figure out. You can drift in and out as you like, and you won't have missed a thing that matters. Tonight, let's spend a little time with a book that isn't really about money at all. Not in the way we usually think about money books. It's called The Soul of Money, and it was written by a woman named Lynne Twist. But here's the thing, it's not about getting rich. It's not about budgets or investments or clever strategies. It's about something quieter than that. It's about the relationship we have with money, the way it moves through our lives, the way we hold it, the way it holds us. And it's about the possibility of a different kind of relationship with money. Calmer one, a more honest one that doesn't leave us feeling worried or ashamed or like we never quite have enough. You don't have to take notes. You don't have to remember the details. Just let the voice carry you the way you'd let a river carry a leaf downstream. No effort at all, just drifting where the current wants to take it. If you drift off before we're through, that's fine. That's actually the whole point of tonight. So let's begin slowly. Let's start with a simple observation, the kind of observation that feels almost too obvious to mention, and yet somehow changes everything once you really sit with it. The book opens with a story, and it's a story that sets the tone for everything that follows. Two friends grow up together, two boys who were close as children, and then they go their separate ways. One becomes a humble monk. The other becomes a rich and powerful minister to the king. Years pass and they meet again. The minister, portly and prosperous in his fine robes, looks at his old friend, thin, shabby, living simply, and takes pity on him. He says, "You know, if you could learn to cater to the king, you wouldn't have to live on rice and beans." And the monk, gently, without any sharpness at all, replies, "If you could learn to live on rice and beans, you wouldn't have to cater to the king." That's the whole book, really, in one small exchange. Not a lecture about money, not a set of rules you have to follow, just a quiet question held up gently. What do you actually want your life to look like? And how much of what you're doing right now is moving you toward that, and how much is moving you away? Most of us fall somewhere between the two, not quite monk, not quite minister, and that's fine. That's where most of us live. But the book suggests, gently, that there might be a steadier way to live with money than the way most of us have been taught. Not a more complicated way, a simpler one, a way that feels more like ease and less like worry. There's something reassuring in that story, isn't there? It doesn't judge either person. It doesn't say the minister is wrong or the monk is right. It just holds up two ways of living side by side and lets you see them clearly. One way involves a lot of striving, a lot of catering, a lot of energy spent on keeping up appearances and maintaining a certain lifestyle. The other way involves less stuff, less stress, less dependence on the approval of others. And the book gently suggests that the second way might be more peaceful, more sustainable, more freeing. Not because it's morally superior, but because it's lighter. And lightness, in the end, is what this book is really about. Not just financial lightness, but life lightness. The kind of lightness that comes from not carrying more than you need to. The kind of lightness that comes from knowing what you actually value and letting go of the rest. There's a kind of peace that comes with that lightness. It's not about giving everything up. It's about not being controlled by the need for more. It's about finding a place of sufficiency where what you have is enough and who you are is enough. And that place, the book suggests, is available to all of us, no matter how much or how little money we have. Lynne Twist, the author of this book, didn't set out to write about money either. She spent decades working to end world hunger. She traveled to some of the poorest places on earth, villages in India, the Sahel Desert in Senegal, the Rift Valley in Ethiopia. And she saw things there that changed her understanding of money completely. She saw people with almost nothing, no money, no possessions, no safety net, who were somehow not poor in the way we think of poverty. They had dignity. They had community. They had a kind of sufficiency that didn't depend on how much money they had. And she also saw people with enormous wealth, fortunes beyond imagination, who were trapped in their own way, lonely, isolated, never quite feeling like they had enough, even when they had more than they could ever spend. What she came to understand slowly over decades of working in both worlds is that money isn't really the problem. The problem is our relationship with money. The way we think about it, worry about it, chase it, hoard it, or try to pretend it doesn't matter. The problem is the stories we tell ourselves about money, the myths we've absorbed without even realizing it. And the book offers gently a different story. A story that isn't about getting more, but about seeing differently. A story that isn't about accumulation, but about alignment. A story that invites us to ask not, how much do I have? But, how am I using what I have? The author's journey is so central to the book's message. She didn't arrive at these insights through abstract thinking. She arrived at them through direct experience, through sitting with women in Bangladesh who had almost nothing, and sitting with executives in Silicon Valley who had almost everything. And she saw in both places the same longing, the same hunger, the same desire for something that money alone couldn't provide. The first myth the book addresses is the myth of scarcity, the belief that there's not enough. Not enough money, not enough time, not enough love, not enough of anything that matters. This belief is so pervasive, so deeply embedded in our culture, that most of us don't even question it. We wake up thinking we didn't get enough sleep. We go through the day thinking we don't have enough time. We lie awake at night worrying about not having enough money. And somewhere along the way, that feeling of not enough becomes the background hum of our entire lives. The book calls this the great lie. Not because scarcity isn't real in some places, of course it is, and the book doesn't pretend otherwise. But because we've turned a practical concern into a way of life. We've made scarcity into a story we tell ourselves over and over until it feels like the truth. And the lie of scarcity creates a kind of constant anxiety. It makes us feel like we're always falling behind. It makes us compare ourselves to others. It makes us hold onto what we have, afraid to share, afraid to let go. It turns money into something we have to protect, hoard, and defend. It makes us feel like we're in competition with everyone else, fighting for a limited supply of something we can never quite get enough of. But the book suggests that this story isn't really true. Not in the way we think it is. There's enough food in the world to feed everyone. There's enough money if it were distributed differently. There's enough of what we actually need, not necessarily what we want, but what we need. The problem isn't the amount. The problem is the story. The author writes about this with such gentleness. She's not saying that everyone has everything they need right now. She's seen too much suffering to believe that. But she's saying that the story of scarcity, the belief that there's never enough to go around, is a choice. It's a story we can question. It's a story we can let go of. And when we let go of it, something shifts. We stop seeing the world as a place of lack and start seeing it as a place of possibility. There's a quiet passage in the book where the author describes a conversation with Buckminster Fuller, the great futurist and thinker. He told her that for centuries, perhaps thousands of years, we have lived in the belief that there's not enough to go around. But that belief, he said, is based on an old way of seeing the world. We now have the resources to meet everyone's needs. We have enough food, enough water, enough of the fundamental things. The challenge is that our systems, our economic systems, our political systems, our money systems were all built around the assumption of scarcity. And it will take time, maybe decades, for those systems to catch up to the reality of sufficiency. But in the meantime, the book suggests we can start with ourselves. We can question the scarcity story in our own lives. We can practice seeing sufficiency even in small ways. We can notice what we already have and appreciate it. That's where the shift begins. Bucky Fuller's insight was a turning point for the author. She had been working to end hunger, and she had seen so much suffering. But his words gave her a new perspective. The problem wasn't a lack of resources. The problem was a lack of imagination, a lack of belief that things could be different. And once she saw that, she could approach her work differently. She could focus on empowering people to see their own resources, rather than just giving them things they needed. There's a quiet moment in the book where the author describes sitting with a group of women in a village in Senegal. The village was in the middle of the Sahel Desert, a place so dry and barren that it seemed impossible anyone could live there. The women had almost nothing, no money, no running water, no access to basic services. And yet, when the author met them, they weren't despairing. They weren't waiting for someone to rescue them. They had a vision, and they did. The book doesn't tell this story as a lesson about perseverance. It tells it as a lesson about sufficiency. The women didn't need someone to give them money. They needed someone to believe in them. They needed someone to see their vision and say yes. And once they had that, they found everything they needed within themselves and their community. That's the heart of the book, really. The idea that sufficiency, the experience of having enough, being enough, is not about how much money you have. It's about how you see yourself. It's about whether you believe you have the resources you need or whether you believe you're always lacking something. The author writes about this with such warmth. She describes the women singing and dancing as they dug the well, taking care of each other's children, never doubting that the water was there. And when they found it, it transformed not just their village, but 16 other villages as well. The water brought life, and the women's belief in themselves brought possibility. It's a beautiful image, isn't it? Women in a desert, digging for water, believing it was there, not waiting for someone to save them, not giving up, just trusting that what they needed was within reach if they were willing to work for it. The story of the women in Senegal is one of the most powerful in the book, and it's worth sitting with for a moment. These women had been told by their community that there was no water. The men in the village didn't believe it was there. The women themselves had almost nothing, but they had a vision. They knew deep down that the water was there, and they were willing to dig day after day until they found it. When the author and her group arrived, they didn't bring money or equipment. They brought partnership. They brought belief, and that was enough. The women did the rest. They dug the well. They built the pump. They transformed their community. It's such a powerful reminder that what we often need isn't more money. It's someone to believe in us. It's a vision of what's possible. It's the courage to act on that vision, even when the odds seem against us. There's another story in the book about a woman named Gertrude. Gertrude was an older woman living in Harlem, and she had very little money. She worked as a domestic worker, cleaning houses for a living. And one night, the author was at a fundraising event in Harlem, speaking about the work to end world hunger. She asked the people in the room to contribute what they could, and Gertrude stood up. She said, "My name is Gertrude, and I like what you've said, and I like you. Now, I ain't got no checkbook, and I ain't got no credit cards. To me, money is a lot like water. For some folks, it rushes through their life like a raging river. Money comes through my life like a little trickle, but I want to pass it on in a way that does the most good for the most folks. I see that as my right and as my responsibility. It's also my joy. I have $50 in my purse that I earned from doing a white woman's wash, and I want to give it to you." And she walked up and handed over her $50 in small bills and hugged the author. That $50, the book says, felt more valuable than any large donation the author had ever received, because it came from the heart. It came from a place of sufficiency. Gertrude knew she had enough, even though she didn't have much, and she wanted to share it. Money is like water, the book says. It flows through our lives, and we can either let it flow or try to hold on to it. When we try to hold on to it too tightly, it becomes stagnant. When we let it flow, when we let it move through us toward what we care about, it nourishes everything it touches. Gertrude understood this instinctively. She didn't see herself as poor. She saw herself as someone who had a responsibility to pass on what she had in a way that did the most good. Her $50, given from that place of sufficiency, carried more power than money given from guilt or obligation. Carried her intention, carried her love. There's something deeply moving about Gertrude's words. Money is a lot like water, she said. For some it rushes like a river. For her it was a trickle, but that trickle still had power. She could still use it to nourish something. She could still pass it on. And she did so with joy. That's a beautiful image to carry into sleep, if you'd like to. Money as water, flowing, moving, nourishing. Not something to hoard or fear, but something to direct intentionally toward the things that matter to us. The book also talks about what happens when we disconnect from our relationship with money, when we let it become something we avoid thinking about, or something we obsess over, or something that runs our lives without our conscious participation. The author writes about her own experience of this. She and her husband, in the early years of their marriage, got caught up in what she calls the siren song of success. They were making good money, and they spent it on things they thought they needed: a bigger house, nicer cars, fine wine, art. They felt like they were doing what they were supposed to do. But somewhere along the way, they lost touch with what actually mattered to them. They were spending all their time working, and their children were being raised by nannies. They were acquiring things, but they weren't feeling fulfilled. The book tells the story of a woman named Barbara, who inherited a large family fortune. The money had been in her family for generations, and it had become a kind of curse. It defined everything about the family: their status, their choices, their relationships. People in the family competed for control of the money. They used it to manipulate each other, and Barbara herself felt trapped by it. But then she started giving it away, not just writing checks, but getting involved. She started working with organizations she believed in. She started directing her money toward things that mattered to her. And as she did, something shifted in her family too. Her children got involved. The money started to carry a different kind of energy. Instead of dividing people, it started to connect them. That's the power of directing the flow, the book says. When you use your money intentionally, when you align it with your values, it becomes a force for good, not just in the world, but in your own life as well. Barbara's story is such a gentle reminder that we can always choose differently. No matter what our relationship with money has been in the past, we can choose to use it differently. We can choose to direct it toward what we care about. And when we do, something shifts, not just in our bank accounts, but in our hearts. There's a line in the book that stays with me. You will be known for what you allocate, not what you accumulate. Such a simple shift in perspective. Instead of being defined by how much we have, we can be defined by what we give, by what we direct toward the things that matter, by the impact we make with what flows through us. There's something else the book returns to again and again in different forms. It's the idea of appreciation. What you appreciate appreciates. It sounds simple, almost too simple, but the book suggests that our attention is powerful. Whatever we focus on grows. If we focus on what we lack, we feel poorer. If we focus on what we have, we feel richer. Not because our circumstances have changed, but because our relationship to our circumstances has changed. The book tells the story of a group of people in Bangladesh, a country that had been devastated by floods and poverty. The people there had come to see themselves as helpless, dependent on aid from the outside. They had lost faith in their own abilities. And then something shifted. They started a program that asked people to imagine what a self-reliant Bangladesh would look like. They asked people to envision a future where they were contributing to the world, not just receiving help. And that act of imagination, that act of appreciation for what was already there and what could be, transformed everything. The people started to work together. They cleared land, planted crops, built businesses. They discovered resources they hadn't noticed before, and their communities started to thrive. Appreciation is not just a nice feeling. The book says it's a practice, a way of directing your attention. And when you direct your attention toward what's working, what's available, what's already there, it grows. There's a lovely passage in the book where the author talks about Buddha's teaching on this. Buddha told his followers that whatever they chose to give their attention, their love, their appreciation, their listening, and their affirmation to would grow in their life and in their world. He likened one's life and the world to a garden. In that garden are the seeds of compassion, forgiveness, love, commitment, courage, and all the qualities that affirm and inspire us. Alongside those seeds are the seeds of hatred, prejudice, vengeance, violence, and all the other hurtful, destructive ways of being. The seeds that grow are the seeds we tend with our attention. Our attention is like water and sunshine, and the seeds we cultivate will grow and fill our garden. If we choose to invest our attention in the seeds of scarcity, acquisition, accumulation, greed, and all that springs from those seeds, then scarcity is what will fill the space of our life. If we tend the seeds of sufficiency with our attention, and use our money like water to nourish them with soulful purpose, then we will enjoy that bountiful harvest. Such a gentle, powerful image. A garden, seeds, tension. The things we focus on grow. So what do we want to grow? What do we want to fill our garden? The author also writes about the power of appreciation in the context of her own work. When she focused on what was working, on the successes and the possibilities, she found that more success followed. When she focused on the problems, she felt overwhelmed and stuck. So she trained herself deliberately to look for what was already there, to appreciate the resources and the strengths that existed, even in the most difficult circumstances. The book also talks about collaboration, the idea that when we work together, when we share what we have, we create more than we could create alone. This is something the author saw again and again in her work around the world. People with very little working together could do incredible things. People with resources, sharing them with others, could make a difference far beyond what they could do alone. One of the stories the book shares is about a trip to the Amazon rainforest, where the author met the Achur people. The Achur had lived for thousands of years without money, without the kind of economy we're familiar with. They had their own system of reciprocity, of sharing, of taking care of each other. They didn't need money to survive. But then the outside world started encroaching on their land. Oil companies, loggers, people who wanted to exploit the forest for profit. And the Achur realized they needed to learn about money, to use it as a tool to protect what they valued. So they reached out to the author and her husband, and they formed a partnership. The Achur shared their wisdom about the forest, about living in harmony with nature. And the author's group shared what they knew about the modern world, about money, about how to navigate the systems that were threatening the Achur's way of life. It was a collaboration that benefited everyone. The Achur learned how to protect their land, and the author's group learned about a way of life that had been lost in the modern world, a way of living that respected the earth, that understood sufficiency, that valued community over accumulation. That's the kind of collaboration the book invites us to consider. Not charity, not one group helping another, but partnership, sharing what we have, learning from each other, working together towards something bigger than any of us could do alone. The book talks about the prophecy of the eagle and the condor, an ancient indigenous prophecy that speaks of this very thing. The eagle represents the people of the intellect, the modern world, science and technology. The condor represents the people of the heart, the indigenous world, intuition and connection to nature. And the prophecy says that at this time in history, the eagle and the condor must fly together, sharing their gifts, or neither will survive. It's a beautiful image, isn't it? Two different ways of being coming together, not one conquering the other, but both contributing what they have. That's what true collaboration looks like. The author's partnership with the Achur transformed her life. She and her husband became deeply involved in protecting the rainforest, and they learned so much from the Achur about living in harmony with the earth. It was a collaboration that enriched everyone involved. There's a gentle thread running through all of these ideas, a thread that holds them together. And the thread is this: our relationship with money is really about our relationship with ourselves, with our values, with what we care about, with what we want to contribute to the world. The book suggests that we can use money as a mirror, a way to see ourselves more clearly. When we look at how we spend our money, what we buy, what we save, what we give away, we see what we truly value. Not what we say we value, but what we actually value. And if we don't like what we see, we can change it. We can start directing our money differently. We can start aligning it with what we actually care about. This is not about guilt. It's not about judging ourselves for past choices. It's about awareness, about seeing clearly without shame, and then making different choices going forward. The author writes about this with such compassion. She's not saying we should feel bad about our past choices. She's saying we can make different choices now. We can start small. We can notice what we care about and direct a little more of our money in that direction. And as we do, something shifts. We feel more aligned, more whole, more at peace. There's a line in the book that says, when you align your money with your values, you experience a kind of freedom that no amount of money can buy. It's such a simple truth, but it's profound. We spend so much time chasing more, thinking that more will bring us peace. But peace doesn't come from more. It comes from alignment, from living in accordance with what we truly believe. The book also talks about legacy, not the kind of legacy we leave when we die, but the kind we're creating right now in every moment. The author shares the story of her mother's final weeks as she was dying of cancer. Her mother was in her late 80s, and she knew she didn't have much time left. So she spent her final weeks doing something remarkable. She called everyone who had been important to her, not just family and friends, but the people who had served her in small ways over the years. The dry cleaner, the mechanic, the waitress at her favorite restaurant. She called them and thanked them. She told them how much they meant to her. She also gave away what money she had left while she was still alive. Not in a will, not after she was gone, while she could still see the joy it brought. She gave small amounts to her grandchildren, and she listened to their plans for the money. She gave to the organizations she had supported for years. And when she died, she had almost nothing left. She had used up everything, her body, her money, her life force, in the service of what she cared about. The author writes that her mother's legacy wasn't the money she left behind. It was the way she lived, the way she used her resources, time, energy, money, to express her love. And that legacy continues, even years later, in the lives of everyone she touched. That's the kind of legacy the book invites us to consider. Not how much we leave behind, but how we live. How we use what we have right now to make a difference. There's a quiet power in that. The idea that we don't have to wait until the end of our lives to create a legacy. We're creating it right now, in every moment, in every choice we make. And money is one of the tools we can use to shape that legacy. The author's mother was a remarkable woman. She had spent her life raising money for causes she believed in. An adoption agency, a museum, a Braille Institute. And when she was dying, she didn't focus on what she had accumulated. She focused on what she had given. She focused on the people she had loved and the difference she had made. And that focus gave her a sense of peace and completion. The author shares another story about a young woman named Audrey who was going through a difficult divorce. She had been a homemaker for years, and she felt worthless. Her husband had convinced her she wasn't smart enough to make it on her own. And now, in the divorce proceedings, he was using money to make her feel even smaller. Audrey was terrified. She didn't know how she would support herself and her children. She felt like she had no resources, no skills, no future. But then she started to look differently. She started to notice what she actually had: her talents, her relationships, her resilience. She started to appreciate what was already there. And as she did, she began to see possibilities she hadn't noticed before. She started a small business designing children's clothes. She found support from friends and mentors. And slowly, she built a new life for herself and her children. The book doesn't tell this story as a rags to riches tale. It tells it as a story of sufficiency. Audrey didn't need a windfall. She needed to see what she already had. She needed to appreciate her own gifts. And once she did, she found everything she needed to create a new life. Such a quiet, ordinary story. And yet, it captures something essential about the book's message. We so often overlook our own resources. We're so focused on what we lack that we don't see what we have. But when we shift our attention, when we appreciate what's already there, we find sufficiency. We find that we have enough. We are enough. Audrey's story is also a reminder that our relationship with money is often tied to our sense of self-worth. When Audrey felt worthless, she felt poor. When she started to see her own value, she found the resources she needed. The money followed the sense of worth, not the other way around. There's another story in the book about a man named James, who had inherited great wealth and felt burdened by it. He was an alcoholic, going through his second divorce, and he felt trapped by his family's fortune. He hated the money because it seemed to define him, and he felt he could never escape it. But then, through a series of conversations and a shift in perspective, James began to see his money differently. He started volunteering with children with learning disabilities, and he found that he had a gift for working with them. He started using his money to support organizations that helped these children. And as he did, his life began to change. His relationship with his own children improved. He found meaning and purpose. The money that had felt like a curse became a tool for good. James's story is a powerful reminder that even great wealth can be a burden, and that the way we relate to money matters more than how much we have. James didn't need to get rid of his money. He needed to change his relationship with it. He needed to find a way to use it that expressed his values and brought him satisfaction. So that's the shape of it altogether. A few quiet ideas, gathered up gently, one after another. That scarcity is a lie, not because there aren't real challenges, but because we've turned a practical concern into a way of life that leaves us always feeling like we don't have enough. That sufficiency is always available, not an amount, but an experience. A way of seeing that we have enough and we are enough. That money is like water, a flow that can nourish or stagnate depending on how we hold it. That appreciation is powerful. What we focus on grows, and when we appreciate what we have, it expands. That collaboration creates more than competition. When we share our resources and our wisdom, we create something bigger than any of us could alone. And that our relationship with money is really a relationship with ourselves, a reflection of what we value, what we care about, what we want to contribute. None of these ideas are loud. None of them are urgent. They're just small, steady, quietly transformative things. The kind of thing you could begin tonight in the smallest possible way and barely feel the difference for a long while. And yet, given enough patience and enough time, they add up into something whole. The author writes about this with such gentleness. She's not demanding that we change everything overnight. She's not giving us a to-do list. She's just inviting us to notice, to look at our relationship with money with fresh eyes, to ask ourselves gently what we really care about, and to let that awareness guide us one small choice at a time. There's a part of the book, near the end, where the author reflects on a meeting she had with the Dalai Lama. She was at a gathering of global activists, people working on all kinds of issues: hunger, poverty, war, environmental destruction. And as they talked, they realized that despite all the challenges, something was shifting. The old systems built on scarcity were crumbling, and new systems, built on sufficiency and collaboration, were emerging. The Dalai Lama listened to them, and he reflected on the universal desire people have to be happy and to avoid suffering. And he talked about how an ethical life becomes a fulfilling life. When we bring our values into our relationship with money, when we use our resources in ways that express our deepest commitments, we create a life that feels whole. The author writes that in that meeting, she felt something shift. She saw that money, this thing that so often divides us, confuses us, and causes us anxiety, can actually be a tool for transformation, a way to express love, a way to make a difference, a way to connect with what matters most. She describes it as a moment of synthesis, a coming together of all the things she'd learned over decades of working around the world. And it gave her hope, not the kind of hope that ignores reality, but the kind of hope that sees possibility, the kind of hope that knows that change is possible, even when it seems unlikely. The Dalai Lama's presence was a reminder that even in the midst of great suffering, there is a place of peace. And that place is available to all of us, if we can find our way to it. The author carried that peace with her as she continued her work. And the book closes softly with an invitation to see our relationship with money differently, not as something to be afraid of or ashamed of, but as something we can be conscious about, something we can direct intentionally, something we can use to express our values and create the world we want to live in. This doesn't mean we have to be perfect. The author is honest about her own struggles. She still wastes money. She still buys things she doesn't need. She still gets caught up in the chase sometimes. But she's also on a path, a practice, a way of paying attention. And that practice, the practice of bringing awareness to our relationship with money, is what transforms it. The book isn't asking us to become saints. It's not asking us to give away everything we have or live in poverty. It's just asking us to look, to see clearly, to ask ourselves what we really care about and whether our money is reflecting that. And if it's not, we can change it. Slowly, gently, one small choice at a time. The author uses a metaphor that I find particularly soothing. She talks about the caterpillar and the butterfly. The caterpillar, at a certain point, becomes a voracious consumer, eating everything in sight. But inside the caterpillar, there are cells that will eventually transform it into a butterfly. Those cells are called imaginal cells. They are the seeds of transformation, and when they connect with each other, they create something new. The author suggests that we are all imaginal cells. We are the seeds of a new way of being. And when we connect with each other, when we share our visions and our values, we can create something beautiful. A world that works for everyone. A world where sufficiency is the norm, not the exception. Let's take a slow breath here if you'd like to, in and then out, however long that takes you. There's no pace to keep up with tonight, and nowhere else you need to be. Just here, just this voice, just the quiet ideas waiting patiently, the way they've been waiting in these pages for almost 20 years now. If any of this stays with you at all, let it be just the smallest part, that money is not the enemy. It's not the source of all our problems. It's just a tool, a flow, a carrier of intention. And when we use it intentionally, when we align it with our values, it becomes something more than money. It becomes a way of expressing who we are. None of it needs to happen tonight. None of it needs to happen tomorrow either, if tomorrow feels like too much. It's simply there, waiting, patient as an old friend, ready whenever you happen to be ready. There's no hurry about any of it at all. Not tonight. Not ever, really. The author, Lynne Twist, writes somewhere in the book about her own journey and how it was shaped by the people she met along the way. The women in Senegal who dug a well with their own hands because they believed the water was there. Gertrude with her $50 in small bills. The mother, in her final week, anticipation, an invitation to think differently about money and its role in our lives. And that is what the book is all about. One of the most beautiful sections of the book is about the author's mother. The author's mother was dying, and she spent her final weeks expressing her gratitude and giving away her possessions. She called the dry cleaner, the mechanic, the waitress at her favorite restaurant, all the people who had served her over the years, and she thanked them. She told them how much they meant to her. She also gave away her money while she was still alive. She gave small amounts to her grandchildren, and she listened to their plans. She gave to the organizations she had supported for years. And when she died, she had almost nothing left. She had used up everything, her body, her money, her life force, in the service of what she cared about. The author writes that her mother's legacy wasn't the money she left behind. It was the way she lived, the way she used her resources to express her love. And that legacy continues, even years later, in the lives of everyone she touched. This story is so moving because it shows that money can be a vehicle for love. When we give, when we express gratitude, when we use our resources to make a difference, we are using money as it was meant to be used, as a tool for connection, for generosity, for life. And the book closes softly with an image of transformation. The caterpillar and the butterfly. The old systems built on scarcity are crumbling, and new systems built on sufficiency are emerging. We are the imaginal cells. We are the seeds of something new. And when we connect with each other, when we share our visions and our values, we can create a world that works for everyone. The author invites us to see ourselves as part of this transformation, not as passive observers, but as active participants. Every choice we make with our money is a vote for the world we want to live in. Every dollar we spend, every dollar we save, every dollar we give, these are all expressions of our values. And the beauty of it is that we don't have to be perfect. We don't have to get it right all the time. We just have to start. We have to start paying attention. We have to start asking the questions. What do I really care about? What do I want to contribute? And then, one small choice at a time, we can start to align our money with our values. It's a journey, not a destination. And it's a journey we can all take. Somewhere, in the quiet version of this story, there's a woman who spent decades traveling the world, learning about money from people who had almost nothing and people who had more than they could ever spend. And what she learned, in the end, was that money is not the point. It never was. The point is how we live. The point is what we care about. The point is what we contribute. Money is just a tool, a way of moving energy and intention from one place to another. And when we use it well, when we align it with our deepest values, it becomes something sacred. A way of expressing who we are and what we believe in. That's a nice thought to fall asleep to if you'd like it. Not the strategies or the stories, not the details. Just the small, steady practice of noticing what you really care about and letting your money reflect that. For now, there's nothing left at all to do. Nothing to solve, nothing to plan, nothing to figure out before you can rest. Just the quiet, settling in around you the way it settled over Babylon each evening. Long ago, in a story we told one night not so long ago. Just the dark and the stillness and whatever rest is waiting for you now, close at hand. If it helps, here they all are once more, very slowly, one last time, in case you'd like to drift off somewhere in the middle of them. Scarcity is a lie, not because there aren't real challenges, but because the story of not enough doesn't have to be the story of your life. Sufficiency is always available, a way of seeing that you have enough and you are enough. Money is like water, a flow that can nourish if you let it move. Appreciation is powerful. What you focus on grows. Collaboration creates more than competition. When we share, we all have more. And your relationship with money is really a relationship with yourself. A reflection of what you care about. That's all of it. Small things, steady things. Nothing that needs to happen tonight, and nothing that can't wait until you're ready. You can let go now whenever you're ready. There's nothing left to hold on to. If you'd like, there's another one of these quiet conversations waiting for you, some other night, whenever you'd like it. No rush at all. It'll still be here. Sleep well, friend.